so proud to be Haitian because just everything about being Haitian is just awesome.
Everyone know about the history of Haiti, first Black independent country in 1804.
Understanding the history of Haiti or Haitian people, you can't help but be proud of the accomplishment that have happened.
Haitian Americans have done really well in the past few years. There's still a lot more work to be done. Only about 20% of us actually have a bachelor's degree.
I understand firsthand some of the challenges that Haitian American students, graduates, and professionals have faced.
Some of them have overcome incredible adversity.
Both immigrated or asylum seekers or refugees.
There are not that many Haitian-focused scholarships, but like any other award, the NAHP Leadership Award is providing recognition for one's hard work.
As we know, college is expensive, so this scholarship fund provides the chance for a brighter future.
It felt like the universe was speaking, like I needed the money, I was intrigued, people were telling me to apply.
Going to college or graduate school can be very, very expensive. So donating to a scholarship like this would help that expense be more manageable.
Future generation of leaders, scholars, entrepreneurs,
young adults that are trying to make something of their lives.
They are rock stars. They just need the help, and they need us to help them accomplish it.
There's like this Haitian proverb that says, "Mais en pile chat palu," many hands make the load lighter.
Log in and you can donate $10, $25, $50.
It makes me think of the Malcolm X quote that education is our passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. It makes me happy to know that our organization is contributing to that goal, preparing others for the future.
Hello. That was a beautiful message. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Today we have our topic today is understanding gentrification in Little Haiti. And with us we have speakers, Marleine, Bastien, and Cidelca. As we know, gentrification is a major issue in our community in Little Haiti, and it's been affecting Black and Brown communities for decades. And gentrification affects vulnerable populations through displacement, disruption of community ties, and loss of safety nets. Many community leaders are concerned the current pandemic that it could drive homelessness and further drive the wave of gentrification. This virtual symposium explores the impact of gentrification in Little Haiti specifically, and we're joined today by community leaders, activists, and entrepreneurs who are facing this challenge head on in the community. Like I said, we have Mr. Jean Cidelca and Miss Marleine Bastien. I'm going to allow him to introduce himself and tell you what they do and how they perform their work in Little Haiti. So whichever one you want to go first? The floor is yours.
I'll let the young leader go first.
Sure. My name is Jean Cidelca. I do go by my last name, Cidelca, for those that are listening. What I do in the community, I do tours. I've been doing tours in the community for like 4 years now, where I highlight, the history of Haiti, Little Haiti, and of course the neighborhood, which is Miami. So when I come to that, you come on the tour, I really highlight, once again, the fact that, we came from a country that, we had to, adapt. We adapted to so many different difficulties and hardship, but we're still here, and Little Haiti is our home. At one point, it did represent the biggest Haitian population outside of Haiti, and the culture is still well and alive, even though the population is not as it used to be. So our history will always be relevant, whether Haitians are in Little Haiti, in the past, today, the future, we will still be, part of that, let's say neighborhood. So the legacy lived on. And that's part of the reason why I do what I do, to keep people aware of, the impact that the Haitian people have, not just, in Haiti or Miami, Little Haiti, but, across the world overall.
Beautiful.
My name is Marleine Bastien. I first would like to thank NAHP for this invitation tonight. I'd like to thank the organizers for putting this important event together. Special thanks to you, Wolf, for facilitating. And I'm glad to see our young leader and former volunteer, Cidelca, and leadership leader, and appreciate your work in Little Haiti.
Thank you.
I'm the director of Family Action Network Movement, which is a one-stop center located in the heart of Little Haiti. FAM is a 30-year organization which was designed in a way to allow our members, we don't call them clients, we call them members, to entail that they also have a role to play in the institution. When they get in, they can access different services ranging from mental health, counseling, access to healthcare, which we consider as a basic human right, access to affordable housing. We have after-school programs for our kids. Most of them walk to our center, and we have 3 sites. And so one of the sites is located right here. And we have an adult education center where we, in 90 days, we teach our adults how to read and write, and then we engage them in computer literacy, which is very needed among our population here. And we also have an immigration clinic. Basically, in a nutshell, that's fun, but what's unique about the institution is that not only that we provide wraparound services to strengthen families, because it is our bedrock belief that strong families equal strong communities. We also give the tools to our members to contribute to their own empowerment and transformation. We train them to be their own spokesperson because we believe that no one can speak better to what they experience, what they live, in their communities than those who are directly impacted. So we provide training in organizing, communication skills, so that when we travel either locally in Tallahassee or in the Hall of Congress, our members are able to, in a very succinct way, intelligently to express their needs and then share with those who are elected to represent our interests, what they are going through and what they need to do to make their lives better.
Beautiful. I love it. I love it. That's a very powerful, it's a powerful engine to have in Little Haiti for the Haitian community down there. So the way this panel is going to work, we're going to ask questions to both panelists, and they will answer them, taking turns. Or sometimes, if you feel like you want to add on to the topic, you don't have to wait until I ask you a question. You can just intervene and just say, hey, I haven't thought about this, or I want to reply to something Mr. Cidelca said. And then towards the end, we'll open the floor to the audience, where they will ask questions that they have based on what we talked about, or other topics related to this issue. Just diving right in, really. You kind of went into my first question, which was, tell us a little bit more about FUM, your organization, which beautifully said. So I'll just jump right to Mr. Jean. Tell us a bit more about Tap Tap Tours. How did it get started? Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. So by profession, I'm an architect. So throughout my studies of, going through my thesis project, I kind of realized that, I was fortunate to have an education, to pretty much start from the very beginning and reach the very top. And being, born from Haiti, that actually exposed me to a different, let's say, environment as well. So for me, is to create a platform where that, the knowledge that I attained both in Haiti and the US, a lot of people didn't have a chance to experience my type of education. So I decided to do a tour to open the door. It's like a gateway where if you cannot go to Haiti, but Little Haiti is not just a name. It really is a big part of our community here, where to kind of have that bridge, to bridge the gap for, let's say, Haitian American or just American, or anybody that want to know more about our culture, to have that platform available for them. So for me, that's what kind of inspires me to do the company. And also with the tours, I do architecture lectures every third Friday of the month, which is pretty much let's say a complementary to the tours. Where if you do a tour, and then if you're coming to Miami, you can plan your trip on the first Friday of each month to get some design aspect when it comes to Miami, how it's being built, and also how we are being impacted when it comes to development in Little Haiti as well. Or the fact that Little Haiti is a pioneer neighborhood in South Florida overall, and we do have a lot of historical structures that are worth preserving. And believe it or not, a lot of the Haitian households themselves are living in those historical structures. So part of that is to really tie it back to the tours to kind of say, hey, if you're not going about the neighborhood, where you can connect with the locals. If you're walking in the streets, you don't have to know someone to just say hello, sak passe, na boule, and from there you start a conversation. So for me, all those things tied back together. And I also do an art fair where I kind of realized, the elderly that paved the way for myself and other young professionals such as Wolf in New York. We actually have to keep, what they started going. So with the art fair, a lot of, artists, art is something that if you think of the origin of art, it was meant for the elite, the people that are, well established. Or if you were, just, someone of low income, art was not pretty much part of your environment. So for me, it's to kind of preserve the legacy of those people that actually, paved the way so that, we can not just work, but during the weekend, the same way on IT, na men, na plage, na les basket, football. So with the art fair, is a way to kind of have that same experience as well through like a different lens. Where for some people, content wise, the history might be boring to them, but if they come to, let's say, an art fair where they can learn, through the, let's say, like the imagery, where image is very powerful, where learning itself, we don't learn the same way. So the art fair itself is something to kind of, expose the culture to different people another mean, and also have a different medium that people can tap into. So in summary, I do the tours. I have the architecture lectures, as an architect, and also I have the art fair there to, educate people, and also the younger audience as well. Because you may not be able to walk, let's say, an hour and a half or 2 hours in a tour, but if you come to an art fair, you see one, let's say, a painting of, Nick Mahon, that itself can start, a conversation. You see an image of the Citadel, like Catherine Flore, and so on. So for me, providing different means and medium for people to actually access, it's a powerful thing. And of course, with the website as well, if you're to go on the website, just going on the website, it's, alone give you a sense of, the history, the culture of what we have to offer. So like I said, if you don't have the time to go to Big Haiti, just come to Little Haiti, and that's a start.
But that's why I go to Little Haiti a lot of times, because I don't have a lot of family back home. So whenever I want to feel the closest thing possible, I go to Little Haiti. I walk through, I get my food, everything. I just feel it's the closest thing to home. So I completely understand what you're saying. So just to kind of like ease into the topic itself. Both of you have been in Little Haiti for a long time, right? And so my first question is, when did you first start noticing that little changes for like relating to gentrification, like little sign that something was happening?
I'm younger, so I think my answer is gonna be shorter. So for me, I can really say the minute I stepped foot in Miami back in 2004, there was always a thought, à parler dans Haiti parce que Haiti comme si pas bon, nous l'a changé by ça. My father used to drive through Little Haiti with me all the time, but we never actually stopped. So I can only say I got involved back in 2014 because my first job was actually in Little Haiti. And that's when I started seeing a change. For example, cam transfer, where I heard the stories, oh, they're going to be with cam transfer, you need transfer, we're sending you. And then by the time I was, really getting involved, we part where to business side. They're going to restaurant, they're going to car wash, So for me, even though I wasn't seeing things, but I was hearing things. And eventually, when I really got involved in the community, as Marleine Bastien alluded to earlier, that was like my first organization that I worked in, when I was in college.
Really? Wow.
my first
It's come full circle. Full circle.
My first semester in college, I took English too, and then I had to do like a community project, and they gave me a list of organizations. I said, oh, organizations I see, and so I look into it, and that's why we started working ever since then. And then that really kind of gave me another layer of understanding that I can dive deeper into, like especially the elderly in the community, to see what their need was. When it comes to healthcare, immigration, education. So that kind of gave me that exposure to kind of say, hey, there are a lot of, let's say, amenities that are missing in the community where, if you really get involved, you can actually make a much more bigger impact. So for me, I think even though I heard things, but I think the personal awareness really became at Famaisan back in 2012, actually. So that's where it started with me.
Okay. I just want to take a little break and acknowledge our third guest, Mr. Mika Marleine, who's a multicultural tourism ambassador and very active in Little Haiti. So I'm going to give you some time. We already went through the introduction. I'm going to give you some time to introduce yourself to people who don't know you, what exactly that you do in Little Haiti or in the Haitian community itself.
Greetings. My name is Mecca Marleine, Mecca Guimo Marleine. I like to say greetings to the panelists and the Malay GP. Thank you for having me, on this panel. I'm honored, actually. I was, reached out to me about this subject matter. This is a very, very important. Again, my name is Mecca Marleine. I'm a teacher. I teach at Margate Elementary. I started at Toussaint Louverture. So I'm proud to say that I started in the heart of Little Haiti. Teaching became my passion at Toussaint Louverture. I wasn't a teacher before, but teaching grabbed me from substituting at Toussaint Louverture Elementary in CIET. I'm an artist as well. I have a nonprofit which embodies programs, just like my colleagues that are on the panel, just that embodies programs for the youth. We understand that the youth is our future. That's just not a cliche. That's something that, you can't teach. I don't want to say old dogs, new tricks. I don't like that, that slogan in reference to people. But I do believe that if we are going to change the mentality, or if we are going to, I just feel that the youth, we should start with the youth. I think the youth is very absorbent, and they're ready to learn, and they're ready to learn the truth. And so I lean towards my programs, lean towards more youth education. So everything that I do kind of really embodies youth programs and youth education, whether it's tourism in Little Haiti, which my colleague Cidelca does also with Top Tours. We have Little Haiti Field Trips, which is TIT Tours, which is very similar. I don't think there can be enough people showing off Little Haiti and what Little Haiti has to offer. We need 100 tour guides in Little Haiti, so, just because me and my brother and I are doing the same work does not mean that we're, entering in each other's boxes. I think that tourism is definitely a healthy part of life and exposing Little Haiti for what it is. Yeah, definitely. I did submerge myself in the Little Haiti area. As soon as I landed, Marleine Bastien pulled me in when I was just an artist. I know she hears this all the time. I considered myself just an artist that just was about studio, and Marleine Bastien says you need to do some activism work, and that will even boost up your your celebrity status. And I didn't understand what that meant, and I didn't do it at first. I did do it because she said that, but when I did it, I got a whole nother energy that came with it. It wasn't just for the status, it wasn't just for notoriety. It was really self-fulfilling work that was being done in our community, and our community was being affected positively. And so just with that being said, I just want to say, that's really, the size of it right there.
That was beautifully said. I feel like I feel a bit left out a little bit because I'm the only one who have not met Marleine in person and haven't been to her organization. So next time it's on my list, top of my list. First time in Miami. Next time I'm going to visit you. I promise that.
That should be on your bucket list right there.
It is on my bucket list.
And she's running for commissioner again. So Marleine Bastien, kudos to you. We support you.
Beautiful. So one question I asked the panel was on the topic of gentrification. How long have you been in Little Haiti? Let me just ask.
Myself?
Yeah.
Yes, myself. Okay, so I've been in Little Haiti, wow, I would say since 1989.
Oh, that's good enough. So what I was gonna ask you is, when did you first start noticing little changes in Little Haiti and towards like gentrification, like little signs, little things popping up? When did you first noticing something was going on?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I wasn't hip on what gentrification was. I know that it occurred. I didn't even know how to pronounce the word like long ago. It wasn't until really recently, I would say within the last 10, 12 years. And I know my colleagues, Marleine is really you know, she's on point and very focused. And so I know she saw this coming even back in the 80s, because it happens. And now that I realize that it happened to us in Harlem when I was in New York, it happened in Queens, it happened in Houston. My cousins were telling me about it. I didn't know what it was called, but I realized that it was happening. Once Starbucks was moving in, Boost Mobile, Sprint, you know, these stores that started to set up shop in neighborhoods that were considered, you know, gang infested or drug infested. Once these stores started to set up shop in those neighborhoods, you got to scratch your head and say, well, if this is like gang territory and this is, you know, if there's so much drugs here and people don't care about their neighborhood, why are stores really starting to set up shop here? And so I think those were some of the signs that, and then I wasn't seeing our mom and pops anymore. I would go to mommy and poppy on the corner and get my Haitian flag. I made sure I got it there, my Haitian flag for Flag Day, instead of buying it from someplace else. I got it from mommy and poppy, you know, right there, you know, on the corner, or on the block on 2nd Avenue, you know, or Northeast, Northwest, whichever one that it was, the bodega, the Santa Barbara stores. I was starting to see the stores that enriched our community and gave back our culture. I started to see those stores missing. And so, you know, then I started to see, and there's not a problem with having other stores, you know, part of the community. But when you see mom and dad, and, you know, that's how they make their living and they're part of the community, and then they're missing. And the reason why they tell you they're missing is because they can't afford the rent anymore. Then, you know, that becomes a problem, because it becomes a community problem. It's not just their problem. That store is not around anymore, because there's 100 other stores, 1,000 other stores in our community that fall into the same kind of fall into that same spectrum, to where they're not going to be able to afford that, you know, that rent or lease, because it's going up, because they're changing things in the community. And so, you know, and so I started seeing things, I would say 10, 12 years, really, when I started really getting hip to what gentrification was, what it was doing to families, and what it was doing to communities.
Beautiful. So Marleine, I'm gonna ask you the same question. I know you're more integrated into the community. You're kind of like the cloth that brings everything together, that makes sure everything is happening, make sure everything is protected. So for you, from your perspective, when did you first start noticing that something was happening in Little Haiti?
Of course, I'd like to greet our young leader, Mecca, a long-term collaborator. Both Mecca and Cidelca are working to keep Little Haiti vibrant and inclusive. So to put this in a contextual framework, I arrived here in September 1981, soon 40 years ago. And 2 days after I arrived, my dad brought me to meet the late Father Gérard Jean Juste. So when at that time, we were organizing, we were on the streets every day, sometimes in front of home detention camp, fighting for the release of thousands of refugees and immigrants. So after we won, you know, lawsuits, and we went all the way to the Supreme Court to get the Haitian refugees released from detention centers, because they were being held there in complete denial of their basic rights of due process. They settled in the area now famously called Little Haiti. Little Haiti at that time was a very blighted, underserved, and you know, polluted, drug infested, prostitution prone area. But out of sheer resilience and determination, and like immigrants do wherever they go, and especially Haitian immigrants who are very hardworking, they transformed this blighted area into this vibrant, inclusive, culturally inclusive, sizzling neighborhood. So in the late 80s, early 90s, we started to receive members coming to us. I was not even, FUM wasn't even organized yet, because FUM was organized formally in 1991. I was working as a licensed clinical social worker at Jackson, and I was working with HIV/AIDS, sickle cell anemia, and families and children with cancer, and then people started coming to me with problems not related to health because they were owing money. They were putting fines on their homes. Even I, at that time, to tell you the truth, I didn't really understand it because I didn't realize, and I do believe that not many people realized at that time, when you are given a fine, and then the Haitians who came in the late 70s, early 80s, and then who bought their homes for $30,000, $40,000, $45,000, they were getting fines for very basic, sometimes for no reasons at all. If you put some of the explanations that they gave, sometimes they put the garbage the wrong day, things that they shouldn't be fined for, and they were getting these fines. And then, of course, as newly arrived refugees, when they receive these letters, they throw them away, and even I would have thrown them away. I wasn't a homeowner at the time; I was a student, living in Little Haiti, right? And lo and behold, these fines, when you don't pay them, the amount increases, and then these homeowners wake up one day to find out that they owe $5,000, $10,000 on a home. But that time, we are in the late 80s, early 90s. We had a very good ally at the county and city county first, and then city commissioner, the late Commissioner Arthur Thiel. So when we got some of these cases, right, I reached out to Commissioner Arthur Thiel, who at that time nominated me to HRS. Those of you who were born then, not you guys, to HRS, the Health and Rehabilitative Services. He nominated me to that board so that I could understand the system, because the Haitian children were being removed from their parents' custody left and right, so that I could help the parents. So, of course, since he was the one I know, so I reached out to him and said, here are these cases. Homeowners who bought their homes, for this amount, and now they are owing so much they cannot pay. And the late Commissioner Arthur Thiel helped us, clear out some of these fines. I believe, my dear friends, that this was the onset of the gentrification. Did I understand? I understand it then? No, but I do understand it now, because this process continued, and I can tell you now, in retrospect, that this was when at least, don't quote me on it because we haven't done any research on it, but based on our estimation, I think a good 15 to 20% of Little Haiti homeowners lost their homes, especially after the tragic transition of the late Commissioner Arthur Thiel. And I advise young leaders on this call to research his name, so you find out how he died, how he was brought to the brink until he blew up his mind at the Miami Herald lobby, in newspaper lobby. So it was then the onset of gentrification. Now, for the longest time, we thought that the allure of Little Haiti was the fact that it was close to downtown, close to both airports, MIA, Miami International Airport, and close to Fort Lauderdale Airport. And then, as we term it here at FUM, we called it Little Haiti, the city of the two extremes, where you have most of our members living here in Little Haiti, earning having a median income of $25,000 a year. And then only 10, 15 minutes from where we are, you have Fisher Island, where the billionaires and the zillionaires live. So that's why we call it the city of the two extremes. So to make a long story short, I do believe that it was we realized something was wrong, was a mess, late 80s, early 90s, right? And then we got a full understanding of what we were dealing with, when people started to be displaced. And then I can tell you more about it when we move forward, because I want to give our young leaders, space also to speak.
Yeah, that was beautifully said, because I feel like a lot of times when people compare gentrification to other cities, like especially Brooklyn or some boroughs in New York and other places around the country, there are different ways that gentrification starts. And in Little Haiti, I feel like a lot of people don't know that, what you just described about the fees, and also the lack of what's it called? The language barrier. Not understanding what you're reading when you get a letter in the mail saying that you owe a fine. They're like, oh, this is probably like garbage. I'm just gonna throw it out. And then 5 years later, interest goes up and you can't pay it, you know. Now, I just want to switch up a little bit. I love this session. I love everything you all said. So why was it important for you to start? Why was it important for you to start your organization? And also, like, why was it important for you to get involved in gentrification, or like fighting gentrification?
So the question is to me, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll go around, but I'll start with you.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much. So, so FARM is located right here in Little Haiti, and then one day, we were not at this location as a result of gentrification. This is probably our fifth or seventh, I think, our seventh move. You know, so we have to move from one place to the other. In 2016, we welcomed a group of homeowners from the Little Farm homeowners, only a few blocks from here, right? And then they came because some of them have been living in their homes, in their mobile homes for 30, 40 years, right? And then suddenly, from one day to the next, they were asked to leave. They were asked to leave in the middle of the school year in February. And then most of these people, they had deep roots in that neighborhood, right? Their children attend schools in the neighborhood. They didn't know what to do, and someone told them, go to FARM, they will help you there. It was FARM Haitian Miami then, and Cidelca, you know, we changed the name. We went through a lengthy process, 5-year process to change the name. It's still FARM, but it's Family Action Network Movement. So after they came in, and we went to Little Farm, and then we were so shocked to see how these homeowners were being treated. They were asked to leave in February. They were offered only $1,500 each to leave, to pack 30 to 40 years of lives in suitcases and just leave. Because even though they own the mobile home, but the land doesn't belong to them.
Yeah.
So immediately, we partnered with Legal Services of Miami, Community Justice Project, 2 legal agencies, and 2 other organizations to assist them. And then through this negotiation, because we realized that the gentrification was in full force then, right? We organized them every Tuesday. We met with them. We organized them in a homeowners association so that our legal partners could represent all 100 families together. And then started our gentrification organizing work full force. And to make a long story short again, because I could tell you so much about the fact that the folks who bought the Little Farm space was all the way from China. The owners were in China. They were represented by an LLC. So when we organized them and we had to rally, we didn't know where to rally. So finally, we had to rally in downtown Miami in front of the big lawyers, and it was such a scene to see. All the homeowners, many of them Haitian women, held up families and parents, and with their children in the downtown Miami, and then all these suits, big lawyers with their suits coming out and looking at us, and why are all these people here? What are they doing here? So the owners were in China, but we had to organize and rally in front of the lawyers' offices. So eventually, most of them had to leave because they bought the entire space, and now they're building a huge development right there. But we changed through our organizing against that forced gentrification, forcing the fact that they were being forced out, we were able to get a better package for them. Instead of the 1,500, you got each of them at least 10,000. We were able to partner with Commissioner Audrey Edmondson, who represented the area, to place about 40% of them in homes. Unfortunately, as a result of this forced, ouster, a lot of them had to leave the state altogether. Some of them moved up to North Miami Beach, but at least 10% were forced to move out of the state altogether because they didn't have anyone. So that's when FUM, started engaging full force in this gentrification and climate organizing. That was in 2016. So 2015, 2016. And that's around the time, and on that note, it's around the time that we found, because I didn't complete my thought earlier, we thought that the allure was that the cultural inclusivity and the fact that we were close to both airports, and we found out that it was because of sea level rising, because Little Haiti we are positioned on elevated land, which attracted developers. Started with the housing boom in the early late 1990s, right? And then attracted developers from all around the world.
Oh, that's fascinating, because that's something like most people don't think about when it comes to gentrification and in certain part of the country with sea level rising, because in other parts it's mainly people looking for a cheaper housing, but in Miami or in other coastal areas it's mainly because geographically, natural climate change, the sea level is rising. And if you're thinking 20, 50 years from now, those seaside areas most of them not going to be habitable, So as far as like investing billions, it would, for them, they're moving in a way that most people don't think about, 50 years from now,
Right.
Yeah, but that was I'm sure a lot of people didn't think about that part.
Yeah. To add, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, to add to what Marleine said, like Little Haiti is prime because we actually are on a high ground where if you take a Florida itself, it's about 5 feet above sea level, in some places even below. And Little Haiti, the elevation is about 13 to 14 feet high, which goes all the way back to why, pioneers, since the 1870s established themselves, in this same area as well.
Yeah, I mean, so your turn. I mean, I'll start with you. Like, why was it important for you to start Tap Tours? And bringing people in from different part of the world, giving tours in Little Haiti, showing the architecture and all that. Like, why was it important? And as far as like, yeah, I'm gonna let you answer that. Okay, I'm not gonna put it in words.
Yeah. For me, it really comes down to design. Design was really like the first initiation that kind of inspired me to do the tours. And in the history comes second out of fashion, meaning that in Little Haiti, the houses are of value and they do represent part of Miami that you don't see anywhere else. For example, Cidelca fonka na Haiti pa gen galeri yap revoko. So son architect du son architect de chakaste galeri. And for those who don't know what a gallery is, gen de bagay to fonka pricing. Fogging Gallery, Fogging Galata, which is a gallery, like a front porch, and then like an attic, So these are very essential to the community because, as Marleine mentioned, people that are making, let's say, $30,000 or less, we're going to come extra. We're not gonna have it, spending on necessary storage, facilities. Or, if you have a business, and you have enough income to buy a storefront, so that porch become, a shared space. It become, let's say semi-private and also public as well. So if you don't have, the extra, income to go to a retail shop, your gallery become that space for you to sell, whatever you're selling. So those, structures are very valuable to kind of keep the economy going, for the Haitian people. Where if you're in a local, you're gonna know there are tons of business in Little Haiti that doesn't really get part of, let's say, the cycle that is being counted for, and it's for that. And housing itself, there's a lot of discrimination against housing, so that's why a lot of Haitians bought houses in Little Haiti because of they are, let's say, multi units. So the multi-unit houses, if I were to be the first one to come in my family, then I can rent that second portion of the portion to family members or friends to kind of keep the community together. So with all of those things, they build a community, and the last reason is because of aesthetic. Whereas some of the houses that are built in Little Haiti, when it comes to materiality, they are very valuable. Where till today, for example, there's a specific material called Olithic limestone, where if you were to own a house with that limestone, your house is a piece of jewel. Because right now it's actually illegal to build a house with Olithic limestone. They ban that from happening. And for example, some other wood is called mahogany pine wood. These wood are local to South Florida, and they don't actually get infected by termite and bugs, stuff like that. So a lot of Haitians do own these houses, but then they do not maintain them because of lack of, financial stability. So you have a lot of people that will come in, offer them, let's say, half of what the house is actually worth. For me to kind of say, hey, you see that empty land? It became empty because that person, they have the knowledge to, to prepare their house or maintain it. And I'm saying, this is your house right now. This is the condition that it was originally. And these are like the different components that, you have had. For example, a gutter is something that, you have on the top of the roof. So when it rains, to kind of carry water away from the house. A Haitian may buy that as well. We let environment, la fed look come see my you take it out. But what happens when it rains is that the water just goes back into your foundation. So my job is to say, hey, by the way, this is your house that you had. I know for a fact, based on the design model, you had, these elements to it. So in order for you to preserve it and to keep your house, this is what you actually have to implement back. For example, I mentioned the attic. Because of lack of income, once again, some people may use their attic, for storage spaces. But that actually, impede the function of the house to be, let's say, to work, as efficient as it can when it comes to energy production. So my job is to, if you have your vent, your attic, or there's a basement, at times there are small, not really basement compared to New York. You guys have real basement. In Florida, we can have basement because of the water table is still high. But some of the houses are raised on a platform bed, and people do, block this passageway. So to kind of say, if I was you, as the person with the design, expertise, this is what I can recommend. And if you can do this, you have a good chance of actually staying 10 to 15 more years in your house without just being the bare minimum. So for me, all of those things, I see them happening because there are some houses that I knew that existed when it comes to the materiality of them, and then the people just kind of left them, neglected. And eventually those houses are gone. And then what happened is that you have this somebody else that comes into the neighborhood. Next thing you know, you see like a 3-story building. And when it comes to the code of Little Haiti, for residential housing, you cannot go past, let's say, 3 stories tall. So for me, we want to keep that low aesthetic because once you pass 5-story, you lose that community connection because you start looking up and the buildings seem to that they are falling on you. So you don't have that's not a good feeling. So you want to keep it low rise, community level, so everybody can see eye to eye. And that's why we have honor and respect parce que si m'ka wejo, m'ka respecto, m'ka no son honor. So the minute you start seeing people as little ants, I mean, you lose that connection of family experience. So for me, it starts with that, and in the history, the culture is just icing on the cake.
Beautiful. I love panels like this because you both answered my next question before you even asked me. But my next question was going to be, what are some steps that you are taking to combat gentrification? Well, I think well, with you, Cidelca, you kind of you answered my question right now, which means like with using your architecture skills, going around and informing people of issues with their homes, what's missing, how to preserve them for long term. With you, Marleine, I'm going to ask you, like, I know you spoke about it in 2015, 2016. Currently, what are some things that your organization is doing to thinking ahead with gentrification?
Not to cut you off, Marleine, but I am part of this preservation organization. If you guys
beautiful, yes. You know what? Listen, so tab on that. Let's talk about that real quick, and then we'll catch it to Marleine. Yeah.
Yeah, so the organization focused on houses that are at least 50 years old, and in the project is exactly what I just mentioned. So if you really want to know more about this, work that I'm doing with that organization, feel free to reach out to me on my website or social media page, and we can get connected to get some work done. So go ahead, Marleine.
All right, Cidelca, you can talk in front of me anytime, my young lady. Yes, both you and Mika. I hope we didn't lose Mika. Yeah. So what was the question again, Wolf?
So no, I was asking you, what are some steps that your organization is taking, like currently, to combat gentrification?
Yeah, so as I explained at the beginning, we provide wraparound services and we organize around issues of importance, and climate gentrification is one of them, of course. So every other week we have community meetings where we bring the community together so that they can understand what's going on. Because as a result of gentrification, we've lost a lot of businesses, a lot of the renters, all members have been forced out. I think Cidelca was talking about that earlier, about some of the, I think Mika was talking about that earlier, businesses that he used to support, right? And then now they no longer exist. So we have community meetings where we discuss these issues. When the city of Miami, for example, is having hearings around projects that want to come to Little Haiti. We organize our members, make sure they understand the issues, make sure that they know, they understand the impact on their neighborhood, to get them involved, to get them engaged. That's number one. We have an ongoing community education to encourage homeowners to keep their homes. Cidelca was talking about that, and there's been a lot of disinvestment in Little Haiti, right? And that's how it usually happens, right? A lot of disinvestments when the resources are there, especially where a lot of immigrant families live. They are not aware of it. Even during this pandemic, a lot of our members are not able to tap into resources that are available because they lack the organization. A lot of them they don't have the documentation, and a lot of them, they are not even aware of it, right? So we make sure we keep them abreast of what's going on, and then we have outreach, community outreach. We walk the neighborhood, right? We do canvassing in the neighborhood. I, as a director, I walk with our community organizers in the neighborhood to give them information, knock on their doors to let them know, keep your home. If you have problems, come seek help. If a lot of them are being harassed daily, I have members who are homeowners in Little Haiti. Sometimes they bring boxes of letters from developers asking them, to sell. So we tell them, no one can force you to sell. You are a homeowner. You own your home. No one should pressure you, because some of them feel like if they don't give in, something bad may happen. I had this member who came to farm once. He was in between two big buildings, and he was getting pressured. People were knocking at his doors on a daily basis, and he really felt pressure. And then so we had to explain to him, and we do that on the radio every Sunday. We do that doing canvassing, that no one should pressure you. But unfortunately, he was so scared, because he told me, Marleine, what if they come and put fire in my house while I'm sleeping with my family? This is the level of stress that these homeowners are under. We have employees here at FAM who are homeowners in Little Haiti, who bring letters all the time. What should I do? What should I do? One out of the letters said, what are you waiting for to move? So they are pressured. So we have an ongoing education to let them know that they don't have to sell if they don't want to. No one can force them to sell. No one can threaten them. And we have our legal partners willing to help them. And when resources are available, because they need to retrofit their homes, because a lot of the homes are in disrepair, and when the resources are available, no one is there to really make them aware of it. We want to make sure that we make them aware of it. And then we make sure we help them keep their home with keep them engaged, come to the community meetings. If you have questions about your home, if you need something, if you need help with something, come to FAM. Don't be pressured to sell your home. Lastly, a lot of them, when they are mad with their children, they oh, you pas respect them. Wap jouem, eh ben, wap konen. Next thing you know, they sell. We teach them. You have to be able to separate, your emotions about what's going on with your children, right? And keeping your wealth, keeping your land. Your land is your wealth, and you need to do whatever you can to maintain it. We give them examples of other community groups, how they've been able to build and retain their wealth because they don't sell for any reason. And most importantly, they make sure that they leave their homes, no matter what, they leave their homes for their children. So this is a series of a very comprehensive plan that we are implementing, including keeping them engaged so that they are informed, because information is power, information c'est pouvoir. Québécois, don't sell. You can, if you want to sell because you want to get out of there, you want to move to Timbuktu, it is your decision. You can, it is your prerogative. But if you do not want to sell, no one should force you to sell. So these are the things that we do. And when we have community meetings at City Hall, we just pack City Hall. We educate our members and we bring them to express themselves, to talk about the impact of the gentrification on their lives, right? Sometimes we bring 80, 70, 80 people, but it takes time. It's a lot of organizing. And then now we are unfortunately, when you have big developments coming, there's a lot of efforts to divide and conquer. Of course, this has an impact on our leadership. But now, after the big hoopla with a big recent development called Magic City, you can read about it.
I've heard about that, yeah.
Now we are reconvening, we are re-engaging the leadership, and then to see how we can speak in one voice, because we cannot repeat the mistakes of the past and letting developers come in and divide us. We need to collectively unite our strength and to speak in one voice for the benefit of our community, right? And then we are now engaged in a power mapping, and from the power mapping, we hope to come out with a plan to address this climate gentrification, and how to really assist our homeowners, because right now a lot of them cannot keep their home, they cannot pay their mortgage. The pandemic is wreaking havoc in their lives, and like I said, there's been a lot of disinvestments in this community. So we can talk later about model development, how it can be inclusive, but right now I don't want to keep the space too long.
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to expand on what we mean by the word just escaped me. Climate gentrification. Yes. So if you can just or any of you guys can just tune in. If you can just expand a little bit on that. I know we talked about it, but if people who are listening, probably if they're not from Miami or coastal city or some area that's impacted in that way, they may have never heard of it. So if you can expand on that a little bit, what it is exactly, if you can. So I mean, I'll let Mrs. Cidelca go. You can, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, climate gentrification, if you think of the word climate, you can say that's like a first clause, but there's more to it than just, environment. Because it's about, let's say routine, a daily life where, for example, in Little Haiti, you have, the possibility that you can work and live and play in the same neighborhood. So once you get, for example, the job aspect is no longer exists, then that's, part of that, let's say climate gentrification, where it's a word that people just, it's about, sea level rise, or No, it's just, it's a full package. It's a full package to kind of say a community is changing. The aesthetics are changing when it comes to jobs, education, housing. So you can say, yes, the word climate is kind of put in the forefront to kind of just give people awareness. So, okay, there are changes happening where depending on where you live, you may lose your house. And that's why it ties very strict to Little Haiti, because Little Haiti is on a higher platform. So that word is tend to use, to associate, the changes that are happening in Little Haiti. But once again, it goes back to the community aspect where the culture is changing because of all of this, physical aesthetic that are happening, and it ties to programming as well. So if the physicality of the neighborhood is changing, that means the programming is within the community is changing. So it kind of goes back once again to like the climate of the community. So it's a play on words. So it's not purely environmental climate, and it's not purely, let's say, like the physical space. So it's a combination of both.
That's beautiful. Glad we got to expand on that, and because I mean, to me, when I first heard it a couple years ago, I was like, oh, we have a new gentrification level. What's going on? What's happening? I thought it was just plain on gentrification, it was multiplying. Want to welcome Mr. Marleine Guimau, Meka, back to the platform. We had a little technical difficulties. Thank you for joining us again. Nula.
Yes.
So my next question is for everyone here. As business-minded individuals, what are some direct impacts that gentrification is having on your organization or your business? Not in a way like as like I'm talking about the inner structure of your organization. How is gentrification impacting your organization itself?
I would say that even staff, people that lived in the community, I believe that anytime I'm dealing with certain group of people, I like to either hire from the inside or work from the inside, utilize the people in the community. So if there's anything that I'm doing, I always try to utilize the people in the community. Just like Marleine was saying, that we reached out to a few families that we didn't know are not in the community anymore, didn't know that they got that knock on the door, didn't know that, that they had accumulated fines and they were already out of the process. And so, Marleine stepped in to help other families not go through what some families had been going to, but it's still happening right now. I mean, even the fact that, we were even redlined from still today, a lot of the commercial property was already bought before we even started fighting for anything that was left. When we started to figure out like, okay, well, what's around, and why is so many people here, and why are they, why is it, Little Haiti? And just like echoing Cidelca and Marleine Bastien, I didn't have a chance to say anything on climate change, but it's just one added element. There were a whole slew of elements before why gentrification exists. And so climate change was just another, just something, another notch under the belt to, if it wasn't for the sea level, then this would be something else that commercial, organizations are looking to, so that they don't, if there is, in case of a flood in years to come, that they're at a certain level where millions of dollars of their products or their organization or their business doesn't get ruined. This is very real. When people lose business and when there's floods and things that are at hand. And so they look to Little Haiti because of the sea level that Marleine Bastien was talking about. But I'm affected directly because all of my programs, if we're not talking about staff, if we're not talking about, in my program, we go to the mom and pop stores. We have the children understand how important it is to be an entrepreneur, not necessarily working for somebody, but seeing how all of these independent business owners have been striving and have been keeping their doors open to the community. You walk into a bookstore in Little Haiti, the owner speaks Creole, the owner speaks Creole, he speaks French, he knows the history. That's not going to be in the future. You understand? People with the history and the knowledge of, of TIET, of Little Haiti, of, our culture even. And so there's a lot of that rich history that the tours are going to be affected. I think just the nature of, if we're talking about Little Haiti, how Little Haiti is structured, It's not going to be that anymore. And that saddens me a great deal. Real quickly, when I came from New York and I was already dealing with identity issues of being Haitian in New York, and I come down here to this new place, Little Haiti is one of the places that really opened up my heart and was like, you know what, like, hey, I'm all in now. I'm all in. In New York, I was, with the chasing and the name calling and not being yeah, once my girlfriend found out I was Haitian, she was like, man, you know what I mean? She was out of there, no matter how good looking I was, but she didn't care about that. She didn't care about that. She was like, you Haitian? Like, y'all do, all the stereotypes that come along with that. And so I escaped that and was glad to come and live down in Florida. But and I found that the environment was not the same exactly. We still had to deal with those things. Yes. But the environment was a little bit more embracing. And so
it was more of your own.
Yeah. And I have to say, between meeting Marleine Bastien and doing activism work in Little Haiti, I just really went all in. Everybody could say that I've been 2 feet, 10 toes, 10 fingers in the culture, fighting for the culture, and became an ambassador, whatever I did, And so I think a lot of that is being affected when you have the kids that are at Toussaint Louverture and we say Little Haiti and we talk about our community, and then they walk right outside and they get a sense of something different and don't have a sense of their own culture in their own community. That's my problem. I got into this because of pride. There were a lot of young kids. Like I told you, I wanted to start with the youth with my programs. And so I started to realize that there were a lot of youth denying their culture. And because of the stereotypes, whatever it may be, everybody has a job to do. We're all in our own lanes. Mine as an artist was youth programming, using hip hop or entertainment as a tool to promote education. And so, now we're looking at the community, and the community is slowly changing. And what I'm saying to the youth is not a reflection of what the community was or is going to be. And so in our tours, yes, it's being affected. And so everything is being affected. Families are being affected. Education, kids, our culture is being affected. If that's not, like mass enough, for the culture to be affected, I don't think anybody cares except us. We have to be the gate, the gatekeepers of our culture. We know what's at stake. There's already enough, Haitian Americans that are born here, of parents that are Haitian that don't speak the Creole language. You take TIET out, you take Little Haiti, let it go through the gentrification that it's going to. And it's one of the areas, and I don't want to make it sound like it's just Little Haiti, but that's the topic we're talking about here right now, because it's North Miami, there's other places, but we're talking about Little Haiti. When I came to Little Haiti, Creole was still being spoken. Giac Sospoa Bonan, Griot Sudifea, Mami a Pale Creole. I can bring my kids through there. And even though situations might be a little, steep going back to Haiti, bringing my kids there, even though, I have been back several times, but, sometimes you already know what it is. So I'm Little Haiti, next best thing. All right.
Yeah.
And I can hear mommy speaking Creole, griot, the food being cooked. And so they get a taste of that culture. I'm not sure that's going to happen if we allow gentrification to take place full throttle.
Yeah, I feel that. What about you, Marleine? Like, what are some impacts that you're feeling in your organization?
Yeah, so as I was listening to Mecca, it's important to mention that it took us 16 years of organizing, and then both Mecca and Cidelca were part of the campaign to save Little Haiti, and a lot of famous artists came, and then with your help to Mecca to come and with signs that we made at FAM during our community meetings.
I remember.
Of Save Little Haiti, and after 16 years, we were able to celebrate. But we celebrate. It was a bittersweet celebration because Little Haiti used to start from 36th Street, which is now the district, where all the highest end stores in the world are located now, and to 87th Street, right? And then from Northwest 6th to Northeast 4th, court. So now we are boxed in from 54th to 87, and then from Northwest 6 to, I think, right before the railroad, right? So we are boxed into the Cidelca. You're the expert here because you do a lot of tours in the area, but we also do canvassing in the area. We are boxed in this little space. But guess what? In that little space, most of the businesses have left, have been forced out, have been displaced. At one time, we had about a dozen businesses out together, and then FAM had to organize press conferences and then meetings with officials to try to assist them. But guess what? They were forced to go because over 70% of the residents, they are renters, they are not homeowners. Unfortunately, we didn't understand at that time, and then a lot of the homeowners have lost their land and their home. I remember when Senator Bernie Sanders visited Little Haiti a few years ago, he saw all these boxed in and closed spaces, and he asked me, Marleine, what's going on? Are they going to open? Are they going to open? He said, oh, it's 10, 11 a.m. What's going on? I said, no, senators. These are developers, right, speculators buying this land, buying these spaces, and then keeping them just locked up, and while people are forced out. So we, as part of this forced displacement and gentrification, we've lost a lot of our support system. A lot of the businesses we've lost. We have tons of people daily. Once our doors are open, before our office here opens at 9, but 7:30 people are lined up. Most of them are seeking access to affordable housing. A lot of the homeowners coming because they cannot pay, their mortgages. So it's creating a lot of, it's very taxing on the institution, because now we have to hire additional community organizers, because to have people to walk on the streets of Little Haiti, sometimes we have volunteers, but sometimes we have to hire people, because not every week you're going to have volunteers walking into canvas to knock on doors. And we have to be constantly knocking on doors to give people information. So we've had to spend money that for other things that we could use for other programs to invest in this work, in this organizing work, to hire canvassers. Sometimes I have to go on the streets, join the canvassers. We've lost a lot of cultural legacy, a lot of cultural skill sets, because a lot of our artists are forced out. The last one, We Was More, which really broke my heart, moved out. He used to live on 76th Street with 100 elderlies, forced out. Famous artist Jean-Wilfrid Daleus died because the stress was just too much. They kept increasing the rent, and then he just couldn't take it, and then he just had a couple of strokes. So we've lost so much as a result of this gentrification, and it is just the beginning, because more and more we are seeing developers coming from all over. Lately, with a lot of cash from Venezuela, from all over the world, from China, from Venezuela, buying a lot of cash and pressuring people to get out, to just get out. So there's no way to quantify the cultural, legacy, to quantify so many people who've lost their homes, to quantify so much land, to quantify all the skill sets that we lost as a result of this gentrification. It's mind-boggling. It's unprecedented. It is development on steroid, and unfortunately, we don't have the support, really, politically, the political support to maintain. Because even when the residents, we organize them to speak in one voice, which they did in the pertaining to Magic City, they still voted for this big mega development, residential home, zone T5, and then we can talk more about that.
That was actually my next question. Like, what are some steps, if any, state government or local government is doing to alleviate the whole situation?
Or what are they not doing? So it's a lot. So we believe that they could do more because in this gentrification process, it is our experience that the residents somehow are left to fend for themselves. And I at the last PZAB meeting, Planning and Zoning Board meeting, I did speak to some members of the Planning and Zoning, and not Planning and Zoning, to some of the city planners, at City Hall. I said, the residents of Little Haiti, they need your help, they need your support, they need resources to retrofit their home, they need education. There is a lot. We used to be able to go door to door and provide technical assistance, but all these resources are no longer available. So the residents really are left to fend for themselves. And even when we organize them to speak in one voice, their voices are not heard. They are overruled like they did in Magic City. And then you can go watch the public hearings do with Magic City. Watch the committee meetings. These are public information where the community of Little Haiti, the residents, the homeowners, the renters, the business owners, they came en masse to say no. And yet the commission voted 3-2 to approve a project that is in completely not in character, not completely, but not in character with the neighborhood. So they don't get the support that they need. That's why I believe that we need to continue to build the base. We need to continue to do the outreach. We need to continue to do education, because it seems to me that even now, while we are in the midst of this gentrification, a lot of homeowners, they don't understand. They don't understand that in 30, 50 years, Little Haiti may no longer be. Cultural erasure. We raise the issue of cultural erasure, which is a real threat that needs to be addressed.
Right. You are going to say something?
No, I was going to say, no, Marleine was saying 30, 50 years, and I thought that was even a long time to eradicate. I mean, we fought for the name in May 25th, a few years ago, for it to, because it was still recognized as Lemon City. And even after we fought for the name and it's official, you still see Lemon City being written on buildings and signs in the community. And I think 30, 50 years is Marleine's being very generous with Little Haiti being around for 30 years.
Yeah. So I wanted to mention something. I wanted to mention something about the SAPs, because any developer who's able to put together 9 to 10 acres of land can ask the city of Miami, the planning department, to change the code to allow them to build at higher density, at higher density, which is the case of Magic City. And another big development coming called Eastside Ridge. We've been organizing to make sure that the residents and the business owners and the homeowners are able to partake in the decision-making processes. But it's been a big battle. It started in 2016, and we are still at it as a result of our organizing work. The Planning and Zoning Board recently, I believe in January 2020, they repealed the SAP, the Special Area Plan, which is the process whereby the city changed the zoning code to give these developers a special area plan to allow them to build at higher breadth and capacity. So we at FUM, we've been organizing since 2015 to say that these SAPs should be repealed, because it doesn't take into consideration the fact that a lot of the homeowners and all of the homes are zoned T5, or they are 5 stories, right? And then big developers are coming wanting to build at 30 stories, 30 stories. So that's what the SAPs are, and we're happy to see that despite the fact that it took a long time, But now they are looking into not only the Miami 21, but they're also looking into the special area plan. And it was with the Planning and Zoning Board repealed it, as we've been asking for many years now.
Beautiful. I think that kind of speaks to what Cidelca was talking about, as far as like having zoning where property or height or at a certain level where it's not like 30 floors up, 50 floors up, where people can just maintain some kind of residential feel in the area. You want to, as an architecture, Cidelca, you want to touch on that?
Sure. So that goes into two things, like Marleine said. There's a zoning and also something called air rights. Air rights meaning like the property or space that you have above you. So if I have, let's say, a 2-story building, I can actually prevent my next door neighbor to build like a 5-story building, because there's something called natural lighting, where if a house has natural lighting, the efficiency of the house is much more, let's say, cost effective. So you can actually, sue if someone actually block your natural lighting because you don't allow them to actually build that far up. So as Martin mentioned earlier, they're able to bypass that. To kind of answer your last question, when you refer to how gentrification affect, our business directly, I think for me, it comes to like not just on a professional level, but on a personal as well, because so many people have come to the community to promise, homeowners some different things. The first thing they will ask me, okay, so for me, it's like it's a foot, I have to be physically on foot walking to, to them and talk to them. So for them, it's about, building that, personal trust first, and then they can see me as the architect, the person with the expertise. If you cannot build that, personal trust with them, then, you cannot go anywhere. So that's one. And to the second question, what's the current question again?
So the current question is, what we're talking about, what are some things that the
right. I remember. Yes.
Yeah.
So when it comes to that, the city at times they do give grants to help, let's say, homeowners. But when it comes to this stuff, there are a lot of special clauses that are within those grants that make Haitians ineligible for these grants. For example, they might say we have a grant for you to actually, let's say, rebuild your home. But then that special clause can say, you have to live in the house. Where a lot of Haitians, they may own houses in Little Haiti, but they don't live in Little Haiti. And then the tenant that that's living on there, you cannot move a tenant out for like say 6 months to a year for renovation. So automatically, even though you own a house, the fact that you don't live in the house, that actually disqualify you. So it's like they giving you a little bit, but it's not enough to add to what Marleine's saying. And when it comes to like that change, it really is up to the community. So there are certain, let's say, designation that you can do as a, let's say, community. For example, a master plan. You can create a community, let's say, a board, and a business. This is the master plan that we want for our community. We want sidewalk, we want shade, we want light, we want X and Y and Z. So with that, you go to the city and you say, okay, this is what we're proposing, and this is the way that we want our communities to look. That's one. When it comes to the housing themselves, you can have, let's say, a district. When it comes to preservation district or historical district, where those houses that I mentioned, you can let's say take like a block. Let's say 2 or 2 blocks at something. This block is designated as a historical block or has a historical district to preserve, those homes or those businesses. So when it comes to, that preservation, it really is up to us in the community compared to the city, because if you go to the city or if you let them to make the decision, they're gonna give you, let's say, 25% or 100%. Compared to us, we have to go with 200%, then we make it 100%. So pretty much you have to upscale what you want to get, at least, maximize what you're gonna get. Because the city at times they do give, like I said, a bit of an aid, but within that aid, there are so many layers of roadblocks that you have to overcome. So it is as if that aid never in the first place. So it really comes to the community themselves. Let's say like the strip Northeast 2nd Ave, let's say 54th Second, we can say, from that block we can designate that as the historical neighborhood of Little Haiti. And if we're to get then, let's say, an okay, then that means no changes can happen in that neighborhood, because we are actually about keeping the aesthetic, the integrity of that neighborhood. So I think it's a combination of different things that can happen, both on the city side and also on the community side, to really preserve what we have.
Okay, beautiful. So we have about 10 minutes left. So for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to give you guys a timer. We're gonna do fire rounds. You know, you gotta keep you guys on your toes. We've been, you know, having fun, so let's keep you guys on your toes for a little bit. Okay, so my next question, I'm gonna give each of you 60 seconds to answer. It's probably gonna need more, but I'm gonna limit you at 60 seconds. Okay. Whoever want to go first, I'll let Mecca go first.
Great.
So with COVID-19, now we're in a new reality. It's kind of like pre 9/11, post 9/11. Now we have pre-COVID. When you look at a picture online, nobody's wearing masks. You're like, oh, that was before COVID. You know. So with COVID happening, gentrification on the other hand, do you think that Little Haiti have a chance to survive through the economic impacts of COVID-19? So I give you 60 seconds. You go.
I say yes, because we do have, economic firepower. And I think that it can survive. It has to be intentionally constructed so that the mom and pop stores are really surviving, and that our businesses and everything in the area that's for us is able to sustain even with COVID. Hoping things get back to where it is. But you're right. You just said something that, really makes a lot of sense. We're already going through it with gentrification, and then now COVID, which has really, even big businesses are not around right now and had to really, take the exit door out. And so, my guess at this point, I'm on a panel as an artist that has interest in Little Haiti. Gentrification is a hot topic, but I don't have all the answers. I'm hoping that my people can, recover. But with the efforts that I see that my colleagues are doing, I think that I never give up hope. I think that we can save Little Haiti still, and we can make some good progress in that area.
Beautiful. Cidelca?
Yeah, so in terms of COVID, the community is strong in Wellington Life. We do have our own COVID vaccine, which is natural medicine. So that is something that we believe in a lot. But I mean, go to the side, I receive a lot of emails and phone calls. You ask me, are you doing tours? Because our history is so rich, it's so powerful that whether you know it or you don't know it, it brings curiosity to people. So to answer your question, yes, COVID or not, the community is strong. We're still going strong because I face it every single week, every single day. People calling me, oh, Miami shut down. There's something to do. And then you're the only company that actually is doing something educational, something outdoor. So even though it's not pre-COVID numbers, but yes, every week, let's say Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I do get at least one or two people that come to Little Haiti to do tours. So one of your coworkers is one of these people as well. So you can ask her about her own experience when it comes to how COVID life is in the community. So like I said, if you're not something, subjumu, do jojo, vinati Haiti.
All right, Marleine, go ahead.
So we're gonna have Cidelca continuing the tours. We're gonna have Mecca starting Poetry Night again. We miss those, Mecca. And we're gonna have ongoing education to educate our members, our homeowners, to maintain their home and to seek out help if they need it. We are bringing our leaders together to finish our power mapping and develop a plan collectively, to use our voices collectively to bring more investment in the community, because there have been a lot of disinvestments, and then these developers are coming as though they were Christopher Columbus discovering us when we've existed. There just have been a lot of disinvestment, so we need more investments. And lastly, we have a campaign to encourage young entrepreneurs, young Asian American professionals to move in Little Haiti to invest. We cannot let developers from all over the world, investing when we have young professionals who can come from Chicago, from all over, to this inclusive, culturally inclusive and dynamic place. Little Haiti is the place to be. Like I said, come invest. Buy an apartment, buy a piece of land, start your own business, bring your tech businesses, come and join us. We have a Toussaint Louverture statue. We have Toussaint Louverture Elementary. We have with Felix Maurice Leroy, one of the famous poet, Mecca's great uncle. Uncle, yeah?
Yes, great uncle, yes.
Great uncle. Boulevard Père Gérard Janger. So it is our legacy. It is our history. It is our legacy. It is a success story of refugees and immigrants who are prevented from coming in. We came in anyway. We were detained for months and years in
And
our rights. We came and we built a strong and powerful community and culturally inclusive neighborhood. Now, as a result, because we were so successful now, everybody wants to take it away from us. From tellement belle, tellement bien campé, tout le monde besoin. But that's when we need to solidify, to use our collective voices and our investment to keep it so that it can remain pretty pour continuer là l'école et puis pour quitter bien et wealth for children and grandchildren, great.
All right. Go ahead, Mecca. Let it blow, Mecca.
Chapeau bas. Autorité communautaire. Marleine always drops the bomb. I don't know what this, I don't know what you're gonna ask me.
I had to let it go. I had to let it flow. So we're gonna take one question from the public. Let's see. So the question is, what do you say to someone in Little Haiti facing bankruptcy or foreclosure who's giving an offer to sell?
Well, I would say if you need help to come here, come to farm. We'll help you. We have our legal partners. We have legal services of Little Miami. We have CJPs. We may not have all the resources, but together we can make it a clear assessment. As a licensed legal social worker, I'm not going to come and give you a diagnosis just like a medical doctor will not come and write your diagnosis when you present some symptoms. So what I ask you to do, if you are in Miami, I'm sure you are in Miami and in Little Haiti, come and let us see. Bring all your papers. Let us do an evaluation to see what can be done and what's available. There are resources available right now. There are new resources coming in every day as a result of the pandemic. But because we don't know, a lot of you are not taking advantage of it. So come, bring all your papers. Let us do a full evaluation. And then if at the end you decide to sell, no matter what, it's your prerogative. But if you want to find ways to keep your home and continue to build wealth and keep it for your children and grandchildren, we can help you do it.
Okay, beautiful. Next question is. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say real quick, right? Like Marleine was saying, there's grants, there's assistance right now, actually, even on home renovations if you own your home. But just like Cidelca was saying also that, we might be trapped out or blocked out of some of those assistances depending on what they ask and, the criteria. But Marleine Bastien is very heavy. I want to say she's heavy in the streets, not just her office, but she's in the streets, she's in the community. And so if somebody is having a problem with that situation, please reach out to FUM because they're the organization that I know that I would refer to that's really serious about, restructuring families.
Yes.
Beautiful. Cidelca, you want to add to that or?
No, I think both panelists, said everything I could have said. So no.
Okay, beautiful. So actually, I'm gonna start with you, Cidelca, on this question. From Paul Nuffy. What strategies does each panelist propose to maintain Little Haiti's socio-cultural fabric, both residentially, demographically, as well as commercially? Types of businesses.
I believe whatever skill set you have in the educator, poet, musician, dancer, just keep on doing it and also make it inclusive as well. Where in our community, on people ne parle anglais, so si qu'on fait un programme, faire en créole, faire en anglais. The content is very heavy for people of higher education. You can take, let's say, if it's every let's say Friday or every week of the month, you can have one week out of the month where it's towards the kids. So not only making it more inclusive for for people of let's say academic capabilities, but also for demographic as well. So meaning that, because Little Haiti is, a very, let's say, Haitian influence community, but, there are a little bit of niche of smaller, let's say, demographic here as well. So we have to include them as, as part of the community because, they are here. And also, like I said, the children are the future of the community. So if we're going to do something, as the professionals, if they feel left out, then, we have no, let's say, legacy to keep on going. So I think, if you, like I said, whatever your profession is, keep on doing it. As it doesn't matter if you're just, a substitute teacher in a school after school program, you are making an impact. just keep on doing it, and then from there you expand your horizon to reach, both the elderly and then the young people. So that's my best advice to anybody out there that wanna, be part of the community.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So our next question is, what would you say to the youth who are moving from Little Haiti, have their parents in Little Haiti, but moving to other areas and don't invest in Little Haiti? This is from Kenzie.
Was that for me again?
Well, anyway, you know what? I'll check in with Mecca. Mecca, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say
Since you work with the youth, so
yeah, the way that's structured, it's really obvious that we're talking highly about our community and the value of our community, but yet the youth that are in the community, the ones that move out of their parents' house and see their parent, I think that they need to invest back into the community. Once we understand the value that Little Haiti is not this like in the movies, this gang obsessed area that drug infested, that we don't take care of our community. Once people get that out of our heads and they understand that we take care of our community and that we want the best for our community, and there's programs and there's then I think that there's going to be an interest, just like people trying to move to Weston, just like people trying to move in these other areas. We need to keep our neighborhoods clean, which is true. We need to take action. We need to take ownership in our community so that we can call those shots. And take pride and bring the value back up. Once the value starts going back up, that's why people move to different areas, because the value is up, because it's either clean, or they got good schools, or they got the streets are the way that they're supposed to be, or whatever the situation is, whatever makes a neighborhood, a community, a good community, quote unquote. And so we need to take pride in our community. I would tell those young Haitians that should know better, because most of them are millennials and they know what's going on. They should educate their parents to keep their houses if possible, use the resources that we have in the neighborhood so that we can continue to have ownership. The American dream is being crushed with gentrification. It's not about owning a home and paying for it for 30 years. Now they want you to rent, they want you to lease, and they don't want you to own homes anymore. That's not the American dream. Everything is changing.
Yep. So one last question, and that one is for Marleine. Marleine, you mentioned the role of this is from Paul Nuffy. You mentioned the role of the late Commissioner Art Teal and getting initiatives going. Can panelists speak generally about coalition building across diverse stakeholders with different interests? So Marleine, I'm going to let you answer that last question.
Yeah, so we're doing it. Kenzie had a question about people, young folks leaving, and one thing that I'd like to say before I answer Paul's question is when your parents leave you a home, don't rush and sell it. Keep it, because that's what other groups do. Once you sell your land, you don't have it anymore. You cannot come back. Try to keep your parents, sacrifice themselves to build that home. And then it's not only on the developer side, guys. We also have to hold ourselves accountable, because a lot of us, when our parents leave their homes to us, right? You just sell them. You take the easy way out. So we need, and unfortunately, we are not part of a culture where we learn how to build wealth. We grow up being high and consumers, we don't like to invest. So we need to learn how to keep wealth, to build wealth and keep wealth. Do not rush and sell. And we're doing it right now, Paul. We are meeting right now. We are reorganizing. We are bringing our leadership together to reach across the aisle, right? To make sure that we have a community plan, because like we said, the pandemic has wreaked havoc in our lives. Plus, we were just coming out of this, economic blunder anyway. Plus, we are dealing with the gentrification process. So we're dealing with a lot. We cannot do it, divided. We have not only to unite our strengths, right, among ourselves, the Asian American stakeholders, but like you said, Paul, and I know why you ask it, we also have to build partnerships, right? We have Liberty City that is also going through gentrification process. We have Overtown, we have West Oak Grove, and in our base building and organizing, we organize and meet with them. When we go in front of the Planning and Zoning Board, we go together and we will continue to build those bases and then build these relationships so that we can together build a resilient, right? Resilient little Haiti that stays for or hopefully for generations to come, because our parents, when they first came, they sacrificed themselves. They didn't make all these investments for us to lose everything. Those of us who are moving out, move back. Those of us who want to leave the cold weather, move to Little Haiti. Move to Little Haiti. Contact us. We organize a program now called YEN, Youth Entrepreneur Program at FAM. YEN. We encourage young leaders. We teach them how to develop business plans. We encourage them how to start their own business, how to find resources to develop their own businesses. And we want to bring them to Little Haiti to canvas with us, to see what we've built as refugees and immigrants, and to see if at a very young age, right, we can engage them so that once they go to college, they can come back and stay and live and work in Little Haiti. You can. We're close to the both airports. We're close to the beach. Warm water. We're close to the beach. We have beautiful restaurants. Ask Beka, ask Cidelca. We have beautiful, great food. We soon the Little Haiti Cultural Center will reopen. We'll have cultural events where Kenzie can perform, Mecca can perform, poetry night can come back. Oh my Lord! So come back to Little Haiti, young Haitian American professional, NAHP members from all over the United States of America. Invest. There are some of you, I know you are wealthy. You have money. Come and invest in Little Haiti. Pas gen moun kap marche avec chemise de nuit, mari tête à roule, j'ai à faire, non comprendre nan. Non. Little Haiti is very sophisticated, very culturally inclusive, very dynamic, and very resilient. You need to come, join us, and let us build together this maker that our parents, our mothers, our aunties, worked 16, 18 hours a day, making $3 an hour. When I first came in 1981, young folks, I made $5 an hour as an interpreter, right? So our parents, they earn even less and they worked long hours to invest. So let's continue to keep wealth, build wealth, and invest.
Listen, I know I live in New York, but I will move to Florida to vote for you. I'll say that again.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. This was a beautiful night. And before I want to thank our sponsor, our partners. They help make this whole thing happening. This beautiful magic with all beautiful Haitian people. I want to thank Book It Right Accountancy, and also Shokarela and Book It Right Accountancy. They help us make this happen, this beautiful night, and many more like it. And looking forward. Listen, I want to thank all three of you for being part of this. I want to thank NAHP for allowing me to be part of this. I'm enjoying it. This has been amazing. Any last words?
I would just like to say thank you as well to everybody that's part of this organization. Marleine, it's nice to see you. It's been a while with COVID. Keep on doing the good work. Mecca, nice to see you as well. It's been too long. So hopefully we get to see each other soon. As for the host, Little Haiti is your home. Miami, this in New York might be your house, but Little Haiti is your home. So you're more than welcome to visit Miami. If you come down here, bring the whole family with you. And I'll be more than happy to give you and the rest of the staff from NAHP a free tour of Little Haiti. So that's the least I can do to give an extra hand. So
thank you.
Bon bagay. Moi-même tout, m'ble merci at NAHP and yourself, really facilitating this and make sure that the questions really, go evenly, and so that the everybody that's listening can, really understand the situation that we actually are going through in CIET. And I just want to say I'm honored to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you. So kudos to the leaders of NAHP for their leadership, continued leadership. I've been following you guys. You've invited me several times. So you're doing a great job. Keep doing well. So we invite you to come to Little Haiti and then come to visit FAM. FAM is an institution. We are celebrating our 30th year. We provide wraparound services to our families, and then we organize around issues of importance. Let me quickly say some of the issues that we're organizing around. Of course, climate gentrification, immigration, affordable housing, Haitian family reunification parole. Right now, we're trying to find a permanent path for TPS recipients, DACA recipients, and the undocumented. So there's always places to volunteer at FAM. Cidelca is a volunteer, MECA is a collaborator and volunteer. Both of them are volunteers at FAM. So when you come to FAM, we'll put you to work. So stop by.
I'm looking forward to it.
Stop by. Well, when we travel to DC, we need the young leaders to join us as we try to amplify the voices of immigrants who give their all to make this country the best and the most powerful nation in the world. Again, thank you. Merci en pile.
Merci en pile. Listen, I couldn't have ended on a better note. I'm very happy and thankful this all happened and came together. We kind of lost Mecca a little bit. But again, thank you everyone for tuning in. If you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to us. Our emails, phone numbers, on LinkedIn. I'm sure it's all posted there. Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful night. Thank you again for tuning in, and we love you all. Merci.
Thank you. Merci. Bonne nuit.
Thank you, Marie.